Daniel Sports Central will be giving you guys my bowl season college football rankings for this 2022 season. We have already made it all the way through the regular season, and the conference championships are wrapped up. And so as we look forward to bowl season, which is right around the corner, I'll be giving you guys my updated college football rankings. And this is pretty much the last set of rankings that will be coming out from this channel for this 2022 season. We will be having a set of rankings coming out after the national championship, but that's about a month from now. So that said, these are pretty much our final rankings of the season. This is as we head into bowl season. So that said, let's get started with 1 through 7. Number 1 this week is Georgia once again, and I figured for this week I would do the 1 through 4 for who I think should be ranked 1 through 4 in the college football playoff. I considered having Michigan at number 1. I did have the Wolverines at number 1 after their big win over Ohio State last week. I feel like Michigan is still deserving of potentially being number 1. But Georgia at this point in the season, I do think is worthy of being number 1, especially in the college football playoff. You could put Michigan at number 1, but Georgia is also, you got to consider, they are the defending champions. And that is they're a solid football team. They allowed 30 points to LSU. This isn't quite as dominant of a team than we saw last year. Obviously, they didn't win the SEC championship last year, so that's obviously a huge win for the Bulldogs there, beating LSU. But otherwise, Georgia was definitely, especially on defense, a more dominant team last season. So that's why I've considered putting Michigan at number 1. But I still think Georgia and the experience that they have, that is going to be the team to beat in the college football playoff and in that top 4. So I got Michigan at number 2 this week. They beat Purdue 43-22 in the Big Ten championship. Second straight year they are the Big Ten champions. And once again, number 1 and number 2 they could easily go either way for me. I mean, some might say, oh, Georgia is the clear and obvious number 1. It's not like that for me. I think Michigan is extremely close to being the top team in the country. And, I mean, obviously not having Blake Corum makes a difference, and that makes me hesitant to not put them at number 1. But Donovan Edwards looked great last night against Purdue. I mean, he is the next running back up, and he's really stepped up since Blake Corum has gone out. And it's obviously that's a very unfortunate injury for the Wolverines, but I think they'll be okay based on how Donovan Edwards has been playing the past couple of games, and in big games too, by the way. So Georgia number 1, Michigan number 2. I got TCU at 3. They lost to Kansas State 20-31. If you guys have watched my channel all season, or at least part of the season, you do know that TCU, I've been a bit conservative on them. I haven't been totally certain that they are a top 4 team, but the way they played against Kansas State, I understand they took a loss, but I was impressed with TCU, and I've been impressed with them the past couple of weeks in particular, dealing with the pressure of being a top 4 team and being on the verge of being in the college football playoff. Obviously, they took a loss there against Kansas State, but the way that Max Duggan played and the way that team just fought, it was really impressive for me. And I think TCU is deserving of number 3 at this point, and I got Ohio State at number 4. So I do agree with what the committee decided to do for the top 4. I agree with it completely. If you want to hear more of my reaction, I did create a 10-minute video right after the top 4 was revealed. I'll tag that video in this one. But yeah, I agree with the top 4. TCU number 3, they are deserving. The way that they fought against a talented Kansas State team, and Ohio State sneaking up into the top 4, even though they did not play in a conference championship. They're still 11-1, and that Michigan second half, especially the fourth quarter, was brutal for Ohio State. But I think the Buckeyes having a chance of redemption here and being at number 4. I think Ohio State puts up a fight. They're facing off against Georgia in their semifinal, so I think Ohio State is in a good position. I mean, I think Georgia, I might favor slightly right now, but Ohio State is very much a team that could fight and maybe even win that game. By the way, if you remember back to the last time Ohio State won a national title, it was back in the 2014 season, the first season of the college football playoff. And if you remember, Ohio State was a 4 seed. They beat Alabama in the semifinal, and then they beat, I think it was Oregon for the national title. So Ohio State, here they are in the same position. They're a 4 seed, and this is a chance for them to prove some people wrong. And I think, honestly, any of the 4 teams could go on to win the national title. And so it's a very interesting playoff this year. Alabama's number 5, the first one out, moving up 1 position. Even though they did not play last week. And, I mean, there are arguments that Alabama should be in the top 4. I personally don't think that they're deserving, being a 2-loss team. So I think Ohio State being in instead of Alabama was definitely the right move. Penn State number 6. I think Penn State is being slept on a bit. They are playing in the Rose Bowl against Utah. That's going to be a great matchup and a great opportunity for Penn State. Kind of a team that's been quietly a really good football team this season, especially the way they've played down the stretch. So I've got them in the top 6, quietly in the top 6. But Penn State, 10-2. I think they're going to have it's going to be fun to see them in the Rose Bowl facing off against Utah. And there's Kansas State, number 7. They beat TCU 31-28. I've got them in the top 7 this week. They're 10-3. What a season for Kansas State. They've been a big dark horse in the conference all season. TCU has had the spotlight for the majority of the season, and then Kansas State comes out of nowhere. They get into that Big 12 title game, and they knock off TCU. Kansas State, the Big 12 champions. What a fun conference this season. I mean, that Big 12 was wide open from start to finish, and Kansas State took advantage of it. Moving on to 8 through 14, Tennessee's number 8. I do have them slightly lower than the college football playoff rankings. I've got them staying at number 8. They're 10-2. Main reason why I would actually have Tennessee probably ahead of Alabama, but once again, the main argument and the main reason why I don't is because Hendon Hooker's out for the rest of the season, which is extremely unfortunate. He's had such a great season, and so for him not to be able to finish out the season it sucks for Tennessee. But I've still got them in the top 8, and I think they can put up a show against Clemson. That should be an interesting game there in the Orange Bowl. Utah's number 9. They beat USC 47-24, knocked them out on Friday night, and Utah is once again the Pac-12 champion. They're turning out to be the most dominant team in the Pac-12 in recent years, so keep an eye on the Utes moving forward. They're in the Rose Bowl once again to take on Penn State. USC's number 10. Playoff hopes went out the window with that loss to Utah, but they're still 11-2. It's been a great year for USC, and even though it ended up being a disappointing finish in the Pac-12 title game, they do play off against Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. So still a good New Year's Six bowl matchup for USC, even though guarantee the Trojans definitely wish that they were in that top 4 right now. Clemson's number 11. They beat North Carolina 39-10. A good win for Clemson. And that's a team. Clemson's been a team that I've been conservative on them as well for the majority of the season, mainly because their offense just hasn't been very good. But we'll see how Clemson. They got a tough matchup against Tennessee coming up here. So we'll see if the Tigers are able to compete. And I think honestly that Orange Bowl matchup between Clemson and Tennessee, that could easily be one of the best matchups of the bowl season. You look at Clemson, they started Cade Klubnik in the ACC championship against North Carolina. He hadn't really played all year, and so for him to come out and play like he did, he was extremely impressive. 20 for 24, 279 yards, 1 touchdown. And he also rushed for 30 yards and a touchdown. So, keep an eye on him. He's going to be around Clemson for a while. So, the Tigers, there's some new optimism with him, and that's going to make it very interesting. And I'm moving Clemson up 6 positions because of that. I see potential in this team with Cade Klubnik. Washington's number 12. They moved down 3 positions, even though they didn't play in the conference championship or in a conference championship this weekend, mainly because I wanted to move Clemson ahead of them, as well as Utah and a couple teams. So Washington is number 12 still. I think they're the top-ranked team outside of the New Year's Six, and they're facing off against Texas in the Alamo Bowl. So that'd be a really intriguing matchup there, that's for sure. Florida State's number 13, Oregon State's 14. Both teams have had great seasons, up to 9 wins. Oregon State, I think, plays in the Las Vegas Bowl. They're playing off against Florida. And then Florida State gets to take on Oklahoma, 2 also intriguing bowl matchups. 15 through 21, we got Oregon at 15, 9-3 on the season. Kind of a disappointing finish to the year, but the Ducks still able to have a good bowl game and a good opportunity as they face off against North Carolina in the Holiday Bowl. South Carolina 16, obviously they are one of the hottest teams in the country. That was a team that finished off the regular season by beating both Tennessee and Clemson, the 2 teams playing off in the Orange Bowl. And so for South Carolina at 8-4, I do say that they're the best 4-loss team in the country. And South Carolina, great finish of the season for them. They're taking on Notre Dame in what is the Gator Bowl. So that's going to be a great matchup there for sure. Tulane 17, the top-ranked Group of 5 team. They beat UCF 45-28, 11-2 on the season. Great year for Tulane. They've really come around this past season. LSU number 18 after their loss to Georgia, moving down 5 positions, but they're still 9-4. And even though kind of a roller coaster of a November and the end to the season, still a good year and something to build on for LSU. UCLA 19, Texas 20, and Notre Dame 21. All teams staying in their respective positions. Moving on to 22 through 25, we got Mississippi State at 22, staying there. Ole Miss at 23, also staying there. Mississippi State beat Ole Miss in the last regular season game. I do still have Ole Miss ranked. I think Ole Miss they're not ranked in the 8 people or the college football playoff rankings, but I do still think an 8-4 team in Ole Miss, they still got tremendous talent. I do want to rank them 23rd. UTSA enters the rankings at 24 this week after beating North Texas 48-27, and Troy is both teams are conference champions. UTSA won the Conference USA with that 48-27 win, and Troy beat Coastal Carolina for the Sun Belt Championship 45-26. Both teams entering the rankings this week. Both teams 11-2, and they're also even better facing off against each other in one of the first bowls of the season in the Cure Bowl. First 5 out, we got Purdue at 26. I do have Purdue as the first one out this week. They got beat decently by Michigan, but as the Big Ten West champion, I do want to put Purdue in that first 5 out. NC State's 27. I could rank NC State, but they've just been so inconsistent down the stretch, I really don't want to. North Carolina is 28. Pitt is 29. And Fresno State, the Mountain West champion, is 30. Dropped out after this past week. North Carolina is 24. Purdue is 25. I wanted to drop them out in order to make room for 2 more conference champions in UTSA and Troy. But that said, that's going to wrap it up for today. Let me know your thoughts on these rankings in the comments below. Once again, we got one more set of rankings coming out after the national championship, but otherwise, that's about it for rankings this season. Appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.